everyone, welcome back. I am going to swatch in this watercolor painter's diary. Here it is, watercolor painter's color diary, watercolor. And I'm gonna swatch in this, the very first watercolor set that I got and what made me love it. So I am going to do that with a synthetic brush. I'm gonna do that with Craft-A-Mo. So I just thought you might like to watch me swatch my first set. And I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna think about it, and I'm gonna put them in rainbow order. So I'm gonna go from here to here to here to here and back and forth. I'm not exactly sure how they're set up here, but they're not in rainbow order. They're very dry. They're kind of cake watercolors. I enjoyed them. I used them. We'll see how opaque they are, how much they flow. There's no color name. Well, there are color names. They're in different languages. Like this one, this doesn't have color names, but this one does. This is a yellow and it says Gelb, 59A Gelb. They really re-wet easier. I got a lot of enjoyment out of them. So, okay, I'm gonna go over to here, and that's sort of a deep yellow. They're fairly transparent. I'm not seeing a whole lot of haze. They're flowing well. These definitely aren't I've had these forever. And I used them straight solid for probably 3 or 4 years. They got a lot of last in them. I really liked them. This is like an orange. You know, are they the same? Go to this red. I didn't spray them down or anything. They seem to be transparent. This is kind of I'm noticing, you know, that they're kind of staining. I was first told to get these colors from a lady at Blick. I didn't want to spend a fortune. This is like an alizarin crimson. Oh wow. I haven't went back to these in a long time. That's nice. All right, now I'm gonna go back over here to this pink. It gave me everything I needed at the time to learn color theory, and they're definitely not a gouache. They're very transparent. Let's go to this violet. Seems to be next in line, and then to this blue. I think this is ultramarine, or maybe I don't know. I wish it had. Maybe it has color names on the bottom. Let me see. Maybe these pop out. No, I can't get them to pop out. Don't want to break my nails. But this says ultramarine. It's 120. It says ultramarine. Let's see if it's the same. No, that's an ultramarine. That must be a phthalo. As soon as I put it down, I kind of knew it was. Let's see if that will lift. Phthalos are staining. It's a cheaper paint, so maybe a cerulean. They're definitely all different. I definitely see where this is granulating. They just seem to have a lot of fillers in them. Here's a gray. I'm going to put it down here, but it's next in line. All right, so I'm going to go over here. I have to get my other sheet out. Not really doing a good job here. That seems to have some granulation in it too. So that might be cerulean right there. And then here is another one. They're all surprisingly transparent, and I can see why I like them. I mean, they're really going down well. All right, so we're gonna go to this green, medium green, like maybe a permanent green. I am going to switch that brush because it is driving me nuts. Medium green, I don't know, it might be a phthalo. It's lifting, but not very easily. I can still see the line. Okay, so let's go to this. This just says, it's kind of like a spring green. That's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to swatch these out again. And then here, this is kind of like a moss green. It's nice color. I'll do a little painting. Here is like a yellow ochre or a raw sienna. There's two of that color, one here and one here. I would call this one yellow ochre. And then I'm gonna go over here to this one. And this kind of reminds me of that brown ochre in the Daniel Smith set. I'm talking the color of it, not this definitely doesn't have any granulation. You know, surprisingly, they are all pretty transparent. I'm very interested. Now here's like a burnt sienna color. I mean, I'm not seeing any haze over that black line. Yeah, that's like a nice burnt sienna. And then here is, this kind of looks like, it's not a burnt umber. It kind of looks like a raw umber. I think raw umber has kind of a green undertone to it. But I think this is supposed to be like a split primary. Peachy. It looks like it has some white in it, which of course, and I do see some haze, but that is pretty. That is a pretty tone. I love that tone. I love that, whether they call it one brilliant, or I just love that. I think it's pretty for skin and for flowers. Oh, we got black. I'm gonna put that black over here with the gray. I'm trying to figure out what color of black. I think this might be more of a PBK 11 maybe. It looks like there's some granulation going on. Yeah, that's pretty nice, to be honest. Pretty nice paints. If I can find them, I'll link them below. They weren't very expensive. This is really not lifting, this gray that I put down. Okay, let me do a little bit of mixing with that. This palette came with little mixing palettes, little areas to mix. So I'm going to see if it mixes as expected. I'm going to take a cool red, which is this, I would call it an alizarin crimson, and then maybe get one of these two. So let's go with this, which I think it's ultramarine. I bet you it is, because I got that used up the most. So let's just mix that, and I get kind of a muddy purple. There's that. I mean, not bad though, but it looks a little chalky when you mix it up. It looks a little cloudy, but when you put it down on paper, it really looks pretty good. Let's mix this pink. Okay, let's take that pink and then take this blue and see what we get. Now that's a pretty violet. This is more of a dioxazine color. Let me add a little bit more blue to it. Pretty purple. It's mixing as expected. This is just more of a muted. Let's try mixing a little bit of this pink into this orangish tone. Okay, let's get this pink and try to get that Quin Coral color that I love so much. That's pretty pink. A little bit more pyro red to it. Okay, let me take some pink. I'm just experimenting here. Let's take some pink and mix it with a little bit of like this yellow ochre. That's pretty. That's a real pretty coral. Yeah, it really mixes as to be expected. You just gotta know your warm and cools. Okay, let's take this blue and mix it with burnt sienna. See if we can get a nice dark. There's a nice gray. There's a nice dark. So I would say that this is going to be your convenience color. You know, that black and that gray. You know, there's a reason I stuck with this for so long, is because they're flowing well. Let's do a little painting. Just of a little flower. I'm going to do wet on to dry and wet on to wet. Let's start out with this nice alizarin crimson and just make some flowers here. It's going on nice. Let's just drop it in, wet on wet, see if we can get some good flow going. Nice. I'll go back and do some of that. Now, I'm not particularly fond of these greens, so I'm going to take maybe some of this green and mix it into this, what I already have. It's going gray on me. So let me take this green, mix it in with some orange, maybe some of this one. It's getting kind of mossy, so I'm not crazy about that green. Let's try this one. Let's try this. Maybe some, that's better. I put some of that alizarin crimson in there. It's kind of gray. It's not bad. And the paper is going to have a lot to do with it too. So if you got cheaper paper and cheaper paints, this is not bad. Not bad at all. It's very pigmented. Let's look at maybe getting another tone. Taking this red, mixing it here with this coral. I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow ochre and mix in with it. Get a more peachy tone. Okay, so I did this quick little flower. I've got some wet on wet going over here to test flow. I think I'm just going to drop some pink in there to see how that flows. Not super good, but it's pretty. I mean, I think that's pretty how that's going up. I mean, that looks really pretty. I mean, that'd make a pretty dogwood. Take that and put that on the end. Maybe take some of this brown, what I call raw umber, that at the end. I think it's a nice set. I stand by it. Every time I go back to it, I just really enjoy. The only thing I'm not crazy about is there's not good greens. Let's get some of this brown ochre. Take it down. There's just not really good greens in here, and it's hard to mix them. There's that moss green. You know, hey, that's kind of pretty. Would I recommend this set to a beginner that wanted to get a good mixing primary set? Yes, I would. The only thing that I might have to do is really work with these greens. But you could make, so let me make I really like that dogwood. I like how it went out on that paper. Let's get a leaf. I'm working in this Arteza sketchbook. I'll link that in the description below. I love how that dogwood bled. I'm gonna go back after that dries. I'm gonna go back and give that another wet layer. And all right, let me use this moss green. Let's get a little bit more pigment. That moss green's not bad. Paper dries really quickly. Let's see if we can drop in some darker. Yeah, I would recommend this set. If you're interested in this set, I think it's a good starter set. Like I said, I used it for about 4 years before investing in any Daniel Smith watercolors. And then when I invested in Daniel Smith watercolors, I got the 3. The primary essential set, you know, and I just worked my way up from there. This is such a good watercolor. I had many hours. It's just is nostalgic for me because I had many hours of enjoyment in learning how to paint and learning how to draw. And I didn't even know how to draw and paint back then. You know, let me know what you think before. Have you tried this set? Have you even seen it on the market?